Hey, everybody. Welcome to Team Time. It's Meg here, and we have an awesome video to show y'all as we're getting started. And so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, and it's going to be really short. So we will be right back.
This thing called the let them theory. I freaking love this. If your friends are not inviting you out to brunch this weekend, let them. If the person that you're really attracted to is not interested in a commitment, let them. If your kids do not want to get up and go to that thing with you this week, let them. So much time and energy is wasted on forcing other people to match our expectations. And the truth is, if somebody, especially somebody you're dating or who's a friend or somebody you're trying to partner with in business, if they are not showing up how you need them to show up, do not try to force them to change. Let them be themselves because they are revealing who they are to you. Just let them. And then you get to choose what you do next.
Boom. That was so good and such a good start to this call, because as we know, we can't change anyone, right? And we all have made a decision. If you're on tonight, if you were on last week, you made a decision that you want to contend. You want more for yourself, that you aren't okay with the status quo, that you are going to continue on and to show up and to be here. And I just love the permission that we get to let everyone be where they are. But that doesn't mean that we don't get what we want, that we don't keep going and keep growing. Dee, wasn't that a perfect way to start?
Yeah, I loved it. Thanks for finding that, Meg. And hey, everyone, I'm really glad you guys are here tonight. Really wanted to just keep going on the theme and the topic of what we were started last week. And we talked about come out wherever you are, and radical authenticity, just really one being real with ourselves. Where are we with our health? How are we feeling about things, our business? And then how do we show up for other people? Just like with Mel Robbins, you know, a lot of people are hurting. And so you guys showed up. We started our Operation Spring Clean, which is an opportunity for those of you guys that are ready to start taking steps forward in your health. Little steps done consistently in your health, in your business. But we know we kind of launched that quickly. It started last Wednesday. So we're going to do a follow-up on that right after this call. So you're going to want to stay on for that. And we've had a lot of people sign up. And I know of at least one person who showed up last week and has really, she actually get the pleasure of coaching her myself, has really started moving forward. And we don't get to hear from her often because sometimes she hides, right, Carol? So Carol, you want to come on for a second and just kind of share about what kind of clicked with you and what's been happening over this past week or so?
Sure. First, thanks for letting me share, I think. This is hard for me. But along with the decisions to try to go all in, I did not want to do this, but I thought, okay, I will. So that's part of it, even what I wanted to say there. And part of my hesitancy is because it's true, I have been hiding the last few years, struggling, and I'm not real sure what clicked. So I guess the main thing I would say is I stayed in the game. You maybe didn't see me. I didn't put my picture up, but I came every week. If there's any kind of event that I qualified for, even though like right now, one of the things I'm struggling with, I lost my day job. So financially, I am really struggling right now, but I knew I needed to go. One, for the encouragement, the support, and that's one thing I really crave and one reason I stay in it. But also just, I don't know how, if you do qualify, go. I mean, it's so worth it. And the community is so big. But just, I know I don't have a lot of time. So I guess my main thing is I got off track. Obviously the ankle started it, pulled me down. To be honest, during that time, I was really sticking with my health stuff at that time. It was when I got out of that, and then my business was down and just struggling with that. And one of the things I did want to mention, and I've heard Dave Bush talk about it, and I think even a few others, but I had used up my funnel of family, friends. that were my warm group. And so I struggled with getting that funnel going back again. And so that's where I kind of lost hope. And that's where it was hard for me to stay consistent because that hope was not there. As far as last week and getting back into it, I just, it clicked that one, I don't like where I am. I want to get back where I was. I was very, very thankful for Dee. One thing that I'll say to you is stay connected with your coach, no matter what. Now, granted, I didn't stay with her weekly, but I did stay at least every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. I made sure to stay there. And I came on weekly meetings and the events, any community stuff. And then the other big thing is figure out what you can do, what you're willing to do. I guess I should say that. I wanted it the whole time, but I wasn't willing to put in what I needed to put in. So first figure that out. What do you want? What are you willing to do? What will you commit to? And let it be as small as possible. First, I started with water. And then another thing is accountability. Maybe you need this. Your coach wants to help you. Obviously, we know Dee's busy as all out, but I send her a text every morning with my weight now. I started that. I started actually a week before this challenge started. And one thing with me, it's hard because I don't lose quickly. I lose slowly, and that was part of the issue too, but I know that, so I just have to stay committed and keep going, and know that it works, and just be accountable. So
thank you, Carol. I know it's not easy to share, and just Carol said it was such a good analogy to how sometimes we don't want to share our personal journey, but we know it will serve and help somebody else. And Carol said, I don't really want to share tonight, but if it could help somebody, I will come out and do it. So thank you for that. And I think really where we're going to go tonight is because there's this space, right? We're glad you came out. We're glad that, we talked a lot about what kind of keeps us in the dark is our shame, right? We're not where we want to be, or we're not taking the action. We want something, but yet we're not doing it. And it's just that space in there. And it's hard, like we put out Operation Spring Clean, like to just jump right into action, right? We see this with our clients, just hard if they've gone off 5 and 1 to get back on. We've got to go back to that centering process. And I shared with you some of my personal journey and thought about Paul Blanchard because I coach with him, and he's been helping me find that space of getting back into creation again. How do you avoid burnout? How do you take the steps that will start to rebuild to what it is that you want? So I am really excited to turn it over to Paul Blanchard. He coaches several of us in this organization. You've heard from him before, but Paul, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I am honored to be here to chat about some challenging topics. Shame, burnout aren't necessarily your typical rock the Casbah kind of topics, but as I was sitting here before we started, I felt very impressed to start in a very specific place. So I'm honoring that impression. And it was to start by sharing a segment from one of my favorite books written by the great philosopher Theodore Geisel, who you may know better by Dr. Seuss, who wrote my favorite book of all time, Oh, the Places You'll Go. For whatever reason, just felt that this was very, very apropos to where we are right now in the world. He says, congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know, and you are the person who'll decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not so good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen and frequently do to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly, it's true. The bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun, and slumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite, or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind maker-upper to make up their mind. You can get so confused that you'll start to race down long wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across a weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place, for people just waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you're that kind of guy. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win because you'll play against you. Lonely games. Games you can't win because you play against you. A lot of people in the world are finding themselves in very lonely games. You don't have to throw a rock very far in any direction to find chaos and very charged emotions in different industries, different sections of our life and our reality. But it's super important to remember that things are happening, beautiful things, and you are happening. We've been taught patterns and processes that drive us into shame and pain with the belief that the sun shines at the end of our life. And the opportunity to unwind those, as Dr. Seuss shared, is not easily done. For a mind maker-upper to make up their mind, to be able to change these patterns, to be able to disrupt what we've been taught for longer than we can remember. But I hope tonight to give you just a couple of things to help you start to shift that paradigm, to be able to look at things just a little bit differently. First, let's talk a little bit about burnout, just a little bit to mention the term, to give you permission to see how that lands in your system. When you think burnout, what do you feel? What do you notice? What thoughts come to mind? What memories come to mind? If you could categorize them or put them into a folder, what would the label be on the side? Burnout. How would you describe that to someone who doesn't know what it is? Well, one of the shifts that I hope to give is a different description, a different definition of burnout. And that is that it is purely and simply a signal. What if we allowed ourselves to reset the definition to reset this idea of burnout, of infliction, as if we were given an illness and we called it burnout. And there was no medication for it. You just had to lick your wounds and wait as long as you needed to wait in the penalty box of life to then get out. But what if that wasn't the case? And what if just considering it differently helped us to ease the burden of this inevitable experience of being human? Creation. We were built and given gifts and connected to a source far greater than us for that purpose, to create. More importantly, to create together. It's stressful, though. It takes a toll. And if we don't know how to rejuvenate that stress, then we will continually find ourselves in the dead ends of burnout. But if we start to unwind this, start to retroactively consider burnout is a signal. And the burnout that I may have experienced in the past, the tired, the exhausted, the depleted, as shared in the chat, were simply the result of not noticing the signal earlier. See, when many of us, as we've been taught to be driven by comparison and pain and shame, we can drive ourselves pretty fast and pretty hard with these very volatile tools, but then we get exhausted. And depending on how far we got, we can't stop. We can't stop at that point. This is when the going gets tough and we're going to get tougher. This is when we're going to power through. Why? Because glory is on the other side. As if we had the power to do that, rather than having the opportunity to claim our joy, our peace, and our challenges, and everything else that comes with life right now, in this moment. The idea that you pay the price now to enjoy it later has never held up. There are those who propose that in the sunset of their life, that it was worth it. Paying the price was worth it, but at the actual end, on the deathbed, it's a very different story. It's a story of wishing they had just spent a little bit more time living, a little bit more time connecting. We're not here to make some altruistic demand that you should let go of the pursuit of money or rank or however you justify that, but they're all the same thing. Whether you hide from it and say you just want to serve people, it is still a matter of seeking security, seeking safety, seeking status. But ultimately, what we're seeking is healing. 9 years ago, we were drawn to an incredible company in health and wellness called Take Shape for Life. Why? Because their mission, their calling, their community honored the first 4 letters of health to a T. And that was, it was a safe place for people to heal. Their programs, their fuelings, their opportunities were experiments to find out what else was in there that needed to heal, what else hadn't been given attention to, what else hadn't been forgiven, what else hadn't been experienced. Healing is like a remodeling your basement. There's always more in there and more work to do than you realized when you started. But if we're just going to try and get through it as if life had some destination that only a few get to reach, when in fact, the destination is where you are right now. It's here. This right here in this moment is the only place you can experience joy. Right here is the only place you can experience whatever money can buy you. Right here is the only place you can experience connection with another human being. But too often we've been sold the idea of this hostage situation, driving ourselves with forces that are not sustainable. And then when we can't sustain them, it's our fault. We're not good enough. We're not a good person. And so we go into hiding, we go into isolation, we go into shame. Shame starts as a sensation that then becomes a voice that convinces us that there is something wrong with who we are, how we look, how we act. And then when we get sick and tired of that, sick and tired of being sick and tired, as it's been said many times, then we find that motivation, driven from the same fuel, the fumes of that shame, to drive ourselves out of it, only then to loop right back into it. You want to change this pattern. You want to allow yourself to see the signal of burnout before it becomes what you have experienced as burnout. There's a couple of keys to help you do this. First and foremost, stillness. Stillness can be scary for a lot of human beings. What I want to do right now, in this moment, if you would indulge me, if you're not driving, hopefully you're sitting or laying down, is I want you to find yourself in a good, comfortable position, not rigid posture, but supported in whatever you're sitting in, feet flat on the ground, hands on your legs. No instructions other than you cannot do this wrong. There's no wrong way to do this, okay? Some of you have already found yourself in a good, comfortable position. Closed your eyes. If you haven't and you feel comfortable to do so, please take just a gentle, deep breath in. Exhale, close your eyes. Okay, I'm going to join you in this, so nobody's going to be staring or taking screenshots or anything like that of anybody's funny faces. Thank you, Julie. Okay. So we're just going to get an opportunity to just experience stillness together with no specific way to experience it other than you're going to be still. And I'm not going to tell you for how long, which is what makes it very interesting. We're all going to do this together if you can. So again, a gentle deep breath in. If you haven't already, go ahead and close your eyes. And all you're going to do is just notice. Notice whatever comes up inside of you, outside of you. If you hear sound, distractions, just notice it. Endeavor to not need to tell the story of where it came from, but just notice it. If it annoys you, notice it. And we'll start in 3, 2, 1, begin. And gently take a big deep breath in and exhale, wiggling the toes and the fingers, just giving yourself a chance to kind of come back into the moment, opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Stillness and silence is one of the greatest coaches you could ever engage, especially with no agenda. You're not going there to quiet your mind or to find some kind of Zen. You're just being quiet and just noticing, just seeing what comes up. Sometimes you might fall asleep. Well, that's kind of an indicator. That's a signal you might want to pay attention to sooner. You might notice a lot of chaos. I find in most of those instances, it usually goes away by the end of the 5 minutes, especially if you don't try to change it. So much of what exhausts and burns us out is trying to figure out how to change what we're experiencing. When we actually just experience it, you'll find unbelievable rejuvenation from the body. So number one is stillness. Number two is simplicity. Simplify your life. It will change it at a greater speed than you could ever do otherwise. Part of simplicity may be slowing down and doing less, better. You take someone in Optavia that slows down, does less, and does it better, they will be here longer, accomplish more, and impact more lives than someone who's in a hurry to burn out. So find the calm, find the stillness, find the simplicity, and lastly, separate. Separate your life and your business. If you can't tell the difference between the two, neither can anyone else. And people aren't real excited about getting their lives that much more entangled in everything else than they already are. The last several years have put us in this social crisis of people pretending they're doing better than they actually are. And I've got a feeling there's a few health coaches in that category too. And by a few, all of us. Radical authenticity was an amazing topic for you all to discuss. Radical means to get to the root, which is terrifying. To actually get there, and it is a process. It is a lifelong process, but separate your life and your business so that people can tell the difference. They will be more attracted to what you are doing. Because if yours is all entangled and embedded, and their life is all entangled and embedded, and then you run into each other, you've been pretending things are better than they are, they've been pretending things are better than they are. No wonder Facebook isn't getting the same kind of response. No wonder the health assessment that was tried and true doesn't seem to be getting as many, or I can't remember the last time I had a coach sign up. Those kinds of things. Find stillness, simplicity, and separate your life and your business. Your life is for dreams and fun. Your business is for goals and accomplishment, which creates fun and dreams, and they feed each other. You'll want to be able to tell the difference between the two, but the energy will start to feed each other. You will find greater energy, more sustainable energy in doing so. So I hope that these few simple things and the great wise words of Dr. Seuss, not, oh, the places you'll go, the places you're going, all the things that have led up to you being right here in this moment of your life are extraordinary. So let's take simple actions and allow what's happening to happen, and you will find what you truly want. I promise you, more often than not, it'll be pretty close to what you think you want. But getting there is usually a little bit different, especially if it's been unnecessarily painful for any of you. And you will stop burning out, and you will start seeing the signals your body is giving you to find your pace, to live your life, and to actually accomplish what you want. And Optavia is an unbelievable playground to do that. But it's you. Optavia doesn't actually exist. If I asked you to deliver it to my doorstep, you couldn't. Because it's all of you. It's ideas, it's community, it's love. And we get the playground of losing weight, losing inches, getting off blood pressure medication, all these different things as a playground for us to discover more about each other. Thank you for the time tonight. I hope it was helpful. If any of you need anything, if there's any way I can support you right now, these are intimate times. Please feel free to email me. It's paul@habitfinder.com. A question you've got, a way I can support you, something you're struggling with, it's a way I can cheer you on. please don't hesitate. We are deeply invested and deeply in love with the mission of this company and many, many of the people in it, especially the leaders here on this team and the incredible people that they've brought to the table. So many sweet, dear friends that I can see on these pages, and many more that I'd like to be. So with that invitation and these simple steps, I wish you all the best and here to help in any way that I can. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Paul. I hope you see the comments blowing up. I think my favorite thing you just said was you can't deliver Optavia on a doorstep, you know, and so many people would think, oh, it's this box of fuelings that shows up, but it's so far beyond that. So that was beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you guys. We'll post this recording if you want to watch it again. And like I said, if you need more info, please reach out to Paul. Their Habit Finder is great. So we'll wrap. I'm going to stop the recording of this, and we are going to stay on for those of you guys that want for the Operation Spring Clean, just to do a little clarifying on that and our hub, or what do we call those, pod assignments. So thanks again, Paul, and thanks to everybody who is on tonight. Matt, can you stop the recording on your side? It's not letting me stop it.